Hello everyone, my name is Trevor Bragg, here to give you everything you need to know about living in Phoenix. And today we are talking about the city of Tempe. And we're going through the pros and cons, the best things and the worst things about living in Tempe. And hopefully to help you find out if this is a place you should be living. There's some really good reasons to live in Tempe. It's a very popular city. And I'm not trying to be biased. I'm not trying to paint Tempe in a good or bad picture necessarily. I just want to give you the honest reviews. And most of this is coming from when I help people move to Tempe or not move to Tempe. I listen to their feedback. What are the reasons that they love Tempe? Why do they want to move there? And after they live there, do they enjoy it? As well as what are some reasons that people just say, I'm not moving to Tempe because of what? And so I'm going to try and be as honest as possible. I'm not going to be biased at all. I just want to give you the true facts about living in Tempe. Before we get started, I always have to pitch a 100% free moving to Phoenix guide. If you're moving from out of state and want to know some details about what you should know before moving here, I made this guide because I moved here, and these are things I wish I knew beforehand. My email's on the screen. Just send me an email and I'll get that free guide over to you shortly. All right, so we'll start with the cons because, I mean, that's what you came for, right? You don't want to hear all the great things. You want to hear what are some reasons maybe you should avoid living in Tempe. And well, the number one reason, and maybe somewhat obvious, but it's a crowded city, especially the downtown. It's a very busy city. There's a lot of people that live there. It's a downtown area. They have sky rises, so transportation is not fun. They don't have great public transportation, a little bit here and there, but nothing special. You probably don't want to rely on it for getting to and from work. A lot of people do walk to work, so if you live in downtown, you could just, walk to your building or something like that, or bike to it. That can be a good option. But if you're not doing that, it's a crowded city. Traffic can get pretty brutal over in Tempe just because of its location and because of how many people live there. If you're having to get on the freeway, maybe go to like Phoenix or Scottsdale from there, it's probably going to be an annoying drive just because of all the traffic they have over in Tempe. So it's a crowded area, no doubt. You can really get stuck on those on and off ramps right before you're getting onto the freeway, onto the 10 right there. It's quite annoying. So yeah, it's a crowded city. One of the best pros about Tempe is going to be its location. And this is why a lot of people live there. It is in the ideal location. Just check out a map here. So downtown Phoenix. So Phoenix, one of the largest cities in the United States, is right next to it. And you have downtown Phoenix, and just like 15 minutes away is downtown Tempe. And then if you go 15 minutes north, you have Old Town Scottsdale. Those are the three biggest things to do. And Old Town Scottsdale, downtown Phoenix, probably the two most like attractions. And then right in between is downtown Tempe. So if you want access to those two great things, you can easily live in Tempe to get that. Not to mention you're super close to the airport because you're close to downtown Phoenix. So Tempe can be a popular spot for people who are looking to vacation there or come out for a weekend. Tempe's a popular spot for people to stay at. And also not only entertainment, but those two are kind of the biggest job opportunities. Downtown Phoenix being number one where all the jobs are. And then all up and down Scottsdale, there's tech companies, big jobs, different things like that. All around Scottsdale, it's where every company ideally wants to be just because of the name value. And you could easily live in Tempe and work in downtown Phoenix or work in Scottsdale and maybe not have to pay those Scottsdale prices because Tempe is cheaper. So its location is extremely ideal. It has the Tempe Town Lake. It's a beautiful skyline. So all of that put together makes Tempe a really ideal location for a lot of young professionals looking for a place to live that's not far from their job and also some great access to entertainment and things to do at night. So the second con is that it's an expensive city to live in. So any downtown is going to be expensive, but Tempe holds true to that. The median home sale price for a single family home was over $500,000, which is more expensive than most cities in the Phoenix area. And not to mention, this is actually not a great sign. So some people probably agree with me that it's expensive. I did a study, you can check this out. I did a video where it was the cities that were hit worse from the housing market drop here in the Phoenix area. And Tempe was actually hit the worst. It had the highest percent drop from back in June when that was kind of the peak of our market to now. It had over a 10% drop in home prices, which was worse than any other city in the Phoenix area. So not the best sign that it's expensive and prices are coming down. But if you do like Tempe, the good news is prices are coming down. It's a little cheaper to live there. It's 10% cheaper to live there than it was just 6 months ago. So it is an expensive city, especially if you're trying to own a house, or condos are very expensive. It's expensive entry-level type of place. A lot of people do rent apartments and stuff like that in Tempe. That's a pretty common thing, even more common than probably any of the surrounding cities besides Scottsdale when it comes to renting condos and apartments. And that leads into the next pro, which is that it has a condo lifestyle in Tempe. That's something that very few cities offer in the Phoenix area. Downtown Phoenix has some. Scottsdale has some, but those are usually pretty high priced when you're talking about any sort of high rise. Whereas Tempe has some that aren't crazy priced, and you can have a downtown lifestyle. There are some in Phoenix, but I just find that most of the high rises in Phoenix that aren't uber expensive or uber luxurious are not really in the downtown. Like, it may be a high rise condo, but you still have to drive everywhere you want to go. You can have some of those downtown condos in Tempe where you live there and walk to your job. That type of thing is an enjoyable experience for some people. So if you want that condo lifestyle, Tempe has that to offer, where most of the surrounding cities, Chandler, Gilbert, Mesa, those ones nearby, nothing like that is available there. On the flip side, a con to that pro, so you can see we're kind of jumping back, and I understand that some pros are cons for people and some of these cons are pros for people, but like I said at the beginning, I'm really just trying to take what do people say the reasons they're living in Tempe or the reasons they won't live in Tempe. What are the typical cons? So some of these cons may be a pro for you, but in general, if someone's not moving to Tempe, this is why. And number 3 for the cons is going to be that the southern part of Tempe is really its best or most common location for families to live in. There's not much of a family atmosphere and lifestyle to Tempe, and if you are going to find it, it's going to be in southern Tempe, which then makes it not too ideal of a location, because if you're living in Tempe, you want to be probably close to the things to do. And if you're in southern Tempe, you're probably 20-30 minutes away minimum to those best things to do. So it kind of takes away from that, especially when you consider the surrounding cities tend to have better communities and neighborhoods, at least in my opinion, such as Chandler and Gilbert and even Mesa, probably for a little bit more of a price in Chandler and Gilbert, but they're going to have better communities for families. So really, it doesn't have the best setup for that in Tempe, although there are some great neighborhoods. They just tend to be southern, where you might as well live in Chandler if that's the case. And the next pro, possibly its biggest pro, and I think actually what a lot of people look for in Tempe, and I know I said that it had the highest percent drop, but I think Tempe's future is very bright when it comes to the demand it's going to see and the amount of people that are going to want to live in Tempe. And this is a little controversial to my recent data, and I was very shocked finding out that it had the highest percent drop. I think a big factor is because when prices go up so quickly, like Tempe's did, whenever you see a drop, the one that went up the most is probably going to get hit the most. But I do imagine that once prices start to go up again, once we see interest rates go down, I think Tempe and their home prices are going to keep going up again. But the future. Why do I think Tempe's future is so bright? I think for one, its ideal location, like we talked about earlier, is always going to be a huge pro. So there's nothing that can take away from Tempe's location between Scottsdale and Phoenix, where all the jobs are, where all the best entertainment is, where people want to be when they're central. Tempe is very close to there, so it's always going to have that demand. But also, it has a lot of other great things going for it. For one, I just think it's a very pretty city. I think the skyline's awesome. If you look at it, all the glass buildings, you got Tempe Town Lake right there. It's really impressive. It's a good to look at city, a place that people want to be living. I think it's the best looking downtown of any of the downtowns in the Phoenix area. So I think it has that going for it. And not to mention that there's already a ton of tech companies that are moving into Tempe, or even just not tech companies, but any company moving to Tempe. You can see their big buildings, and there are more coming. So there's more jobs coming to Tempe, and they tend to be higher paying jobs. So that's a great sign for them. And also, this is a newer development that's happened in just probably the last 6 months as it seemed to really finalize. It looks like the Coyotes, which is our hockey team here in Phoenix, and yes, although we are in the middle of the desert, we have a hockey team, which is funny. They used to be over in Glendale, but they got removed, kicked out, didn't want to live, didn't want to be a part of the Gila River Arena, which is now the Desert Diamond Arena. And then they moved to now they're playing in ASU's hockey stadium, and now they're building their giant hockey stadium over in Tempe, and it is going to be massive. It's a $2.1 billion facility on 46 acres of land. To me, that's the biggest surprise. They want this to be a huge, basically, entertainment district, kind of like what Westgate used to be for them. Westgate still is, but they want it to be somewhat in that vicinity, and it's going to be really close to Tempe Town Lake. I don't think it's going to be on it, but it's going to be just west of it, so you can still at least kind of see the lake. It's going to be a cool location, and that's obviously going to bring more growth when you bring that type of money and development coming to a city. That's a great sign for that city. And also, Arizona State University, its main driving force of people coming to Tempe. It's kind of originating thing that put it on the map really is ASU, and there's no signs of ASU slowing down when it comes to enrollment, when it comes to people moving there, and when people go to a university that big, there's a lot of job opportunities around the area. They have many internships, things like that really help a city grow when you have a major university right in your downtown. So I think all those factors make me say that the future is bright in Tempe, and I think it's going to continue to show demand once we see things start to normalize again. And the last con, you probably have already gotten this if you've listened to this whole video, but it's a very upbeat lifestyle in general at Tempe. Most people that are living there want to enjoy the nightlife. They want to go try the new restaurants, want to go to the new bars. They want to stay out late at night. So it's not really for those that are looking for that quieter lifestyle. If you're looking for that, it's going to be Southern Tempe, but I think there's better neighborhoods that can be offered, even though Tempe is great, and there are some great ones down there. It's just for those that are looking for a quiet, calmer lifestyle, probably not looking for that. What's ironic is that there is a 55-plus building, so basically a retirement community in a sky-rise condo right next to ASU. And obviously those people tend to be looking for a little bit slower of a quieter lifestyle, and they have had numerous complaints to ASU for their noise levels late at night. There's been lawsuits, all this stuff. So you can see that the quieter lifestyles don't mesh well with Tempe, even though they tried to put that in there. So if you're looking for that quieter lifestyle, Tempe's probably not your best option. The number one pro of Tempe, and really what it's known for, is probably its nightlife. So this is the top thing that people love about Tempe, and it's probably the second best nightlife in Phoenix. Downtown Scottsdale is easily number one. That's what people view as the best nightlife. And I think most people would agree that Tempe is actually better than downtown Phoenix when it just comes to the nightlife experience, the bars, the clubs, the things to do at night. Tempe kind of takes that over, and a big part of that is because it's where a lot of college students live, so that's why it has good nightlife. But that's a big reason that people love Tempe, and they love to be in downtown because there's so much to do at night in Tempe, and that's really what it's famous for, I'd say, is its nightlife. So that's why it's easily the top option, the top pro of people moving to Tempe. So there are your pros and cons. I think we had 5 pros and 4 cons in Tempe, and these are just things that I've learned and developed, especially as people move there. I get to find an outsider's point of view of why they like or don't like Tempe. Not outsider, but someone who moved there, someone who didn't grow up there. I think it's some really good feedback. So let me know if you guys think this may be a good or bad city for you. If you want that free move into Phoenix guide, send me an email and I'll get that right in your inbox. It's everything I wish I knew before I moved to Phoenix. So if you're thinking of moving to Tempe, it breaks down Tempe also and some other things you should know. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more videos.